Who are you when no one's watching? Insecurity is the new pandemic that has plagued my generation. This device right here has basically caused my generation to live for other people. We literally will make life choices based off of how it will be seen and perceived by others. What job we end up taking, who we decide to date, what car we drive, what house we buy, and in what neighborhood we live in. By the way, if you're a young guy just like me and you're watching this video and you make all of these life decisions based off of how other men will perceive that, you are by definition a cuck. I do not care if that pisses you off or angers you. In a way, that's good because I want this to be a wake-up call. But if you make all of these life decisions based off of how other men will perceive it, you are by definition a cuck. You should make all of these decisions based off of what you want and what is good for your family and friends, and not how other men will perceive that. That is just plain out weird. But anyways, people will literally make up stuff in conversation to make it seem like their life is better than it actually is. But more importantly, because my channel is about self-improvement, people will literally give advice and preach to others of how to live life when they don't follow that same advice that they're giving out to begin with. It's kind of like that guy or girl who always gives a relationship advice when they're single or they've never even been in a relationship before. They seem to always give the most relationship advice, which is actually based off of nothing. And because it's so easy to make videos just like this, there will be people online making videos similar to this, just giving advice or preaching a certain way to live, making up all of these morning routines, saying follow these habits if you want to live a better life, or do all of these certain things when they actually in practice aren't doing any of these things. It's so easy to tell who's actually doing it and who's BSing. One, you can just tell by the consistency. They show up every month with a new piece of information. Or two, they literally just regurgitate other information they heard other gurus say because it sounds cool to say. So with that being said, are you really the guy or girl that you're portraying to be, or are you just another fraud and insecure person? Obviously, living this fake lifestyle to impress other people is obviously bad for the main reason that you are literally giving your life and your freedom to others. By always constantly looking for the validation and the approval of others, you are basically not living a life that is authentically yours. But I think on a more deeper level, I think the bigger issue is that you are not answering the question, which is, what is your purpose and why did God actually put me on this planet? By always living this life for others, you are not actually looking for the answer to the question that will give you the most fulfillment, which is, why did God put me here in the first place? By always looking for the external and never the internal, you are never answering this fundamental question to your literal existence. And honestly, because my generation specifically, but it's really everyone at this point, by always avoiding this question, by always kind of living the life for others, by never knowing who you truly are, by doing this, when you actually avoid this question, regardless of how difficult it is, you end up going down a very confused and lost path. And this is why many people end up chasing quick dopamine, cheap dopamine from all the things that I mentioned in all of my videos, just things that you know have continuously ruined your life. Because once you actually understand who you really are and you understand what you want from life, that knowledge actually serves as a guide. It serves as a compass into every single decision or choice that you make. If you constantly find yourself always falling into bad habits, or you always constantly find yourself starting something for a few days, reverting back to your old ways and starting from ground zero every single time, it simply comes down to the fact that you don't have a compass. You don't have something that actually guides you in your life, and that guide is your purpose. Now, I'm not saying I have completely found out what my purpose is by any means. I think I have spent a lot of time with myself and a lot of introspection. So I've been able to develop some sort of a compass that has kind of led me to where I am right now. And because I have somewhat of this guide or this compass, I've been able to eliminate a lot of bad habits. I've done the hard work of like this quote unquote self-improvement, which is actually discovering yourself first. And I'm saying all of this because oftentimes this cheap dopamine is chased literally so that one, you don't even have to think about these hard-hitting questions, but also two, kind of to avoid yourself from the pain of always, one, lying to yourself as well as others. If you always constantly have to please and seek the approval of others, that's going to make you tired as a person. And naturally, when you become tired as a person, what are you going to do? You're going to look for those cheap dopamine activities to get your mind off of those things. I know how many people do live like this, and I want to make this video basically as just like a wake-up call that living this life, as I mentioned before, is very, very dangerous. Being unhappy is an understatement. What comes from this, it'll just come from complete unfulfillment, and you will live a life of complete regret if you're not following the mission that God put you here for. I do want to provide some solution or some way out of this, and like many of you watching who are probably young yourselves, just like me, I've gone through my phase of not knowing who I am, not knowing what I want in life. And naturally, that's just a part of our life because we are young, and that is something for us to figure out. Just the way that we are going about it, we will never figure it out based off of the way that we are living. And it's pretty scary because many people say when you get older and you mature, you'll realize what your purpose is and what you want. But most adults these days don't know that for themselves. Basically, the first thing that you've already probably heard of to figure out how to do this is that you need to cut off all noise and start to embrace silence. You need to be okay, and you need to be comfortable with being with yourself and your own thoughts for longer periods of time. When is the last time you've ever just sat with yourself in a quiet room and just sat there? Have you actually ever even done this once, where you haven't just picked up a phone, you haven't picked up a book, you haven't talked to someone because you didn't like how lonely and how quiet it was? I'm gonna give you a little bit of a gem here that you have not heard anywhere else, but to be still and to be silent is to know and understand God. I don't know if you're religious, and quite frankly, I don't care if you are or not. This is just going to change your life because God is the only one that has the answer to what you are looking for as to who you are and what's best for you in your life. And He's the one that is going to give you that answer, but it is not going to come from the things that you are currently doing right now. It is going to come from being completely still and silent. By being distracted all of the time, you never hear God's subtle whispers. The lessons that He is trying to teach you is not going to be loud. It is going to be very, very subtle, and it comes to you to be smart enough to actually pay attention to when these lessons come. Like I said, if you are constantly distracted, you are constantly overstimulated, you are just around people all the time, these answers will never come. So step one is that you need to learn to start being by yourself and in silence more often. So obviously in all of my videos, I preach to meditate and I preach to kind of journal, but also during the day, start to spend some more just time alone and with your own thoughts. I'm not saying to be a loner at all, and I very much do not like solitude all of the time either, but it is required for your own growth and development. And now the second part is a little bit less spiritual, but the best way to learn who you are and to honestly determine who are you when no one's watching, and to honestly just be a better person of yourself when no one's watching, is to just imagine a camera just like this. Imagine a camera follows you along all day long. Would you be proud at the end of the day, right before going to bed? Would you want to watch the tape? More importantly, would you feel comfortable sharing this tape with others to watch? If the answer is no, then something has to change. Right now, if you watch porn or you watch videos that you do not like watching, imagine a camera was watching you watch that. Would you want to watch that later? Of course not. And more importantly, would you want to share that with others? The answer is no. Would you want to see yourself on camera with a large belly, with your hand in a bag of chips, watching and just flipping through channels? Would you want to physically see that image? If the answer is no, you need to think about that every single time that you're about to engage into a habit or a behavior that you do not want to do. So just to reiterate, the two things that you must do is to just learn to be by yourself more often and to be silent and to be alone with your own thoughts. That's how you get closer to God. And the second step is to just imagine a camera is watching you at all times. Would you like to watch that? I promise you, if you follow these two things, you will start to learn more about yourself. And when you can learn more about yourself, you can dictate what your purpose is and what you want from life. And that is literally the basis to everything. Once you get this figured out, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, the life you live, everything starts to fall in place once you get this purpose thing down. Once you get this thing down, you will live a much more comfortable life. Not in the sense that you won't have stress, but you won't have this disgusting escapism type of lifestyle where you're always trying to figure out what the hell is going on. You will always have stress no matter what, but when you have purpose, all of the stress is like kind of to build you into a better character, whereas that is just always escaping, trying to be something that you're not, and that's just gross and you don't want to go down that path. So as always, I hope you got a ton of value from this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.